Welcome. In front of me I have the brand new Samsung Galaxy Z Flip5, and today I'll go over unboxing along with a quick overview of this phone. So, jumping straight into it, let's peel these little things off. And we can get into our device. Now right up here, we actually feels like we might have a case. Samsung, are you feeling okay? Oh no, never mind, they're feeling okay. There is no case. I just been bamboozled. Anyway, so just paperwork, charging cable, the typical Samsung shenanigans. And then we get our device. There we go. That looks pretty nice. Okay, so here's our device, and I want to probably start off by saying I'm not the biggest fan of the flip phones, these ones, just because I consider them to provide a structural weakness to the device with zero actual benefits. But that being said, I also am a Fold 4 user. I've been using this basically since the release, and it's been okay. I can't say that it's been perfect. And this one actually feels way more premium in hand than the Fold that I have. The design of it's much nicer, I would say. So yeah, it looks just genuinely more premium. Now, one nice benefit of these new devices, the 5th generation, is that they actually fold flat. And on top of that, they did actually one change which I do consider to be very good. So now the hinge is much easier to open up. It still has resistance, so you can keep it at any position as you could before, as you can see. But it's significantly easier to open it up compared to this, which has way more resistance. And I have encountered times where I'd be, for instance, working out, just a little bit sweaty, and my finger was slipping from opening the device up because it magnetically holds, and it holds it pretty strongly sometimes. So having this just kind of flow almost, you can kind of do, I can kind of open it up like this, is pretty nice. It actually makes it significantly easier to open it up, which is a nice thing. Anyway, another thing that they changed, I don't know if I mentioned it, is the folding mechanism. So I'm gonna first turn it on, there we go. And so now the device actually folds completely flat. I can still see just a tiny little gap right here. But it's genuinely folded flat compared to Fold. We basically have a freaking gap in here. This is a better design, I would argue. Now, unlike the previous generation, or at least unlike other phones that you'd expect that fold completely flat like this one, we still have the little crease right here because the folding of the device is about the same. It doesn't do the teardrop fold as you might expect, as you can see. It does it just a tiny bit, I would say, maybe. Yeah, it does have this teardrop kind of fold, but it's minuscule compared to some other devices. And let's compare this to mine. Let me just maybe first clean off the display, so it doesn't look like an absolute grease fest. So you can see I obviously have a crease on here as well. Now let's compare these two. Stop unlocking it. So, okay, the Flip has a smaller crease. It's still there, but it's significantly smaller than what you have right here. That just catches your finger. This is not as egregious. It's still there. When it comes down to just how it reflects light, it's still pretty bad. As you can see, it doesn't really differ that much in terms of like how it looks like. Now the reason why I'm pointing out how it looks like is because this will be one of the things that you'll be seeing, contrary to what people say. People say that you get used to it. No, you freaking don't. People that say that you get used to it haven't freaking used this device. So that being said, what I'm referring to is when you're outside and the light, well, obviously it's like daytime, you go outside, the light will always shine in your eyes because that crease will make it that no matter how you hold the device, if you try to reflect the light so it just kind of like doesn't hit your eyeballs, the crease will catch it and hit it anyway. It's such an annoying thing, and obviously that makes it significantly harder to see the display. Additionally, at least the Fold that I have 4 had also significantly lower brightness compared to this one, so at least this devices, the 5th generation, has a benefit of having brighter display, so it shouldn't be as big of a problem where it's just hard to see the display. Now, let's get into the specifications of this device. So, starting off with the display right here, it's basically the same. So, for people that know, it's a 6.7-inch display, 1080p by 2640 pixels. It is a foldable dynamic AMOLED display. Now, it's just basically a AMOLED display that folds. It boasts a 120 Hz refresh rate, HDR10 Plus certification, and a peak brightness of 1750 nits. And then, if we fold it, we have a secondary display. If I can get it, there we go, we can now see it. Can we see it a little bit more? Apparently not. At an angle, maybe you can see the bezels a little bit. So there we go. Give me a second. So, that display right here, Samsung basically claims is the biggest display at least on their devices, I think. Because I believe the Motorola one has a bigger cover display. But this cover display right here is a 3.4 inches Super AMOLED display, Gorilla Glass Victus 2, and boasts a about a 300 pixels per inch ratio. That doesn't really specify the resolution. Okay. Now, moving on into the cameras, which we have a couple here. So we have 2 at the, I'm not exactly sure how to, at the cover display, I guess that would be the best way to describe it, and 1 inside. So the display cameras, which are basically the main shooters, can shoot at 12 megapixel. So we have 12 megapixel wide and 12 ultra wide. Gosh, come on. And then inside we got a 10 megapixel wide sensor. Now, they might be pathetic when it comes down to megapixels, but they do record videos at 4K 60 max, so that's at least some benefit right here. But it's still just 12 megapixels on a $1,000 device. Are you kidding me? Okay, anyway, moving on into the internals, we do have a pretty okay battery in here at 3700 milliamps, so it's okay, I would say. It's still quite smaller than any other device at this kind of size that doesn't fold. Phones like that, a flat one, a candy bar, would have about 5000, so we still have significantly less battery capacity in here, but hey, we can now fold the device. Now, apart from that, this device is being powered by a Snapdragon 8 Gen 2, so the newest Snapdragon processor, also basically the best processor you can have on Android, and comes with 8 GB of RAM and 256 gigs of built-in storage with no expandable storage. So if you want to pop in an SD card, yeah, forget about it. Now this is the base model. You can also get half a terabyte, 512 gigs, with also 8 GB of RAM. So that being said, 8 GB is the lowest, not the lowest, the highest, and also the only option that you can have right here. Okay. Now, anything else to say about this device? It's running Android 13 with One UI 5.1. And another thing that I did mention is the charging speed. I did mention the battery. So talking about the charging speed, we have a, 25 watts wired charging. Apparently it's advertised that it's going to get your device to 50% in 30 minutes, which still $1,000. Come on. So, Anyway, let's just kind of now go over pros and cons on this device, and I'm just gonna give you kind of comparisons to other devices as well, just to kind of like drill the info that this device is significantly overpriced for what it offers, unless you really see that the folding aspect of this device is such a major just game changer, a winner for you. But that being said, this device almost doesn't vary in almost any way from its predecessor. The only difference is the cover display, which is now significantly bigger, so that is actually a good change. But other than that, the only other option or upgrade that we have right here is the hinge. So now it folds flat, and the newer processor. But if this device didn't even come with a newer processor, there would be zero incentive to even buy it. Now, talking about the nice things, the display right here is nice, as in just the display itself looks nice. It's Samsung display, so they always look pretty sharp, vibrant, they look good. So there's no disputing that. The design right here and the actual like quality of it also feels really nice. It somehow, for some reason, reminds me kind of like the old Apple, where I guess still, even to this day, where it just feels premium in hand, and this does have this nice feeling that it feels premium, feels nice. It has a good design, I would say. Looks really flashed out, really nice, feels nice in hand, and just also, like I mentioned, looks good. Now, and one more thing, which is very minuscule, and probably not everyone will care, is just the clapping. Like when you fold it, it has this more rounded kind of sound to it. It just sounds a little bit better. So that's something that I started paying attention when I first had in my hand the, what was it? Microsoft Surface Duo. When you close that device, it had this like super nice sound because it was two glass parts just closing almost together with zero spacing between, and it had this really nice gentle like closing sound. This has something similar to it, but not to this extent, but it still seems pretty nice. The sound is toned down, which is nice. Now to compare this to fold, like this just sounds like two phones slapping together. It's not appealing. This on the other hand side, much better. It seems like a minuscule thing, but when you're opening this up and closing it, it will make a difference. Now, with that being said, those are the only positives that I can find about this device. Now, the negatives will be the price, number one, which I'm not sure if that's supposed to be a negative, but it's there, in my opinion. So it's the price. The battery size right here is on the smaller side. It's normal for a folding device, but for a candy bar this size, it's not. And another thing is the charging speed. This device is released in 2023 and comes with 25 watts charging. It's just unacceptable at this point. Samsung needs to get their head out of their ass and put a better charging. I don't care if their phones blow up before. Either you make a better charging and your phones blow up and you realize that you should be out of the freaking market and, I don't know, go make your monitors or whatever the heck you want and stop producing garbage like this, or you succeed at it and people will be happy. Because for a device like this one, which costs $1,800 and has 22 watts charging, that is just an absolute middle finger to me. And this is basically the same. It has like, what, 2 watts more? 25, I think it was. So yeah, $1,000 device. Find me another $1,000 device that charges at 24 or 5 watts. There is no flagship device like that. So this is an absolute L right here. Another thing is 8 gigabytes of RAM in 2023 on a $1,000 device. Again, that's another L. And I think that's, oh no, I was gonna say that's about it, but there's one more. The cameras, $1,000. You have 12 megapixel dual sensor. Are you kidding me? Are you absolutely insane here? For $1,000. So yeah, the reason why I said that the price tag is a negative part of this device is because everything revolves around it. If this device was $700, I would overlook everything. Literally every negative aspect, but it's not. it's at the highest price of flagships, basically, if we don't include the Ultras from Samsung. But in general, flagships cost about $1,000, which is what this comes about. And yet it fails in almost every conceivable way to deliver you a flagship experience. Now, that being said, I do want to point out one device that will just kind of run this phone into the ground. And I know it might be not very fair comparison when it comes down to the price and the brand difference, but I do want to kind of give you a perspective on other devices and what you get for the price compared to this. So, a candy bar from Xiaomi. I do tend to bring them up quite often, I am aware, but some of their devices are just really good, and that's the only reason why I do it. And the phone that I'm referring right now to would be the Poco F5 Pro. At this moment, it's one of the kings, I would argue, for value. So the device costs about what, $500, $600? Comes with a Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 Plus or 8 Plus Gen 1, which is slower than this, but it's also the same processor that I get in the $1,800 Fold 4 for almost a quarter of a price. And that device has better cameras, basically also as good of a display. Performance-wise will be a little bit lower. It has more RAM, more storage, more battery, faster charging speed. So yeah, it's genuinely almost better in every kind of way, and the only thing that it lacks is, I guess, the new processor, but the device was released some time ago already, so I can't really complain about that. And the fact that it doesn't do this. Now, some people swear by these devices that it folds and fits in your pocket easier. It fits as well in my pocket folded and just has less thickness. When it's folded, it just has more thickness, and it still takes the same amount of volume in my pocket. I don't see much of a difference here. Maybe if you want to drop this in your purse, that's okay. But in general, I don't really see much of a point for these devices, the flip ones. Fold, on the other hand side, that's a different part. Folds are much bigger, so they provide you with additional screen real estate that you don't get on candy bar devices. But this one, just because it folds, you pay more, you don't get as much for it, and you do have, like I mentioned, a structural weakness being this display. It is covered with plastic, and it's not as durable. You can literally scratch it up with your fingernail. So it's a massive, it's a high cost for something that isn't as durable as a candy bar and provides you only with this benefit. So yeah, that's basically my take on the folding devices right here. And I don't want to say that it's bad or anything. There are people that will like it. I just don't see myself purpose for the flip phones. Folds on the other hand side are a little bit, like I said, better just because it gives you bigger screen real estate, and additionally, if something happens with your folding device, at least in my case, I still have the cover display, which might not be as big as a normal device, but it still has full functionality. While cover display here doesn't have full functionality, you could not use this device solely off of the cover display. So I do want to stress that. Anyway, hopefully you found this video informative. Maybe it opened your eyes on just the flip phones. And if it helped you in any kind of way, then don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and thanks for watching.